Nick at Night.
The president.
Vampires need to bite.
But if you're hooked on classic TV,
You need Nick at Night. New television programs? You're on the wrong station. Good TV for the TV generation. Nick at Night. Oh, Nick at Night.
Pleasure of Nick at Night. Nick at Night, Nick at Night. Now there's more of what you adore. From dusk to dawn, leave your TV on for good TV. Nick at Night.
If you're audiovisually inclined toward TV of the classic kind, then Nick at Night has been designed for you.
Ooh-wee.
A flick of the switch, a spin of the dial, one little move can make you smile. Nick at Night is the turn on that you love.
It's Nick at Night, makes the world seem bright. So tune it in and keep on watching Nick at Night. All night, every night. It's Nick at Night, makes the world seem bright. So tune it in and keep on watching Nick at Night. All night, every night.
Nick is my knight in shining armor, rescues me with good TV.
all night, every night. Ooh, yeah, Nick at Night.
Hello out there from TV land, the every night good TV brand for your viewing delight. It's Nick at Night. Nick at Night, a TV viewer's dream.
It's custom fit to every screen.
For your viewing pleasure.
A TV viewer's dream.
Nick at Night is better than...
Traffic jam. Here, Uncle Sam. You lost your gal.
Root canal.
A mirror broke.
A mighty poke. It's Nick at Night all right at night. It's Nick at Night at night all right. It's Nick at Night all right at night.
Cement your reliance with your favorite appliance.
And watch your TV light ignite.
When you're close friend, Nick at Night.
I love classics so
Italian News Magazine.
We're both crazy about good TV. We have so much in common. We're crazy about Nick at Night.
If you're feeling bluesy and a little uptight, you could use a hit of TV delight. Brought to you by Nick at Night.
Good TV that's static free. Nick at Night is the place to be.
Hello out there from TV land.
Some creatures landed from outer space. They gave off a funny green light. They said they traveled to our planet just to watch Nick at Night.
When it's time to relax, there's only one place for better TV today. It's pre-post modern, wild and free. Watch Nick at Night for good TV.
What is the perfect combination for a TV land sensation? You and Nick at Night, naturally.
That's right.
Nick at Night, Nick at Night, Nick at Night, Nick at Night, Nick at Night. I've made a personal decision to try better live through television, but to make it right, I've gotta have Nick at Night.
9 out of 10 barnyard animals agree. Watch Nick at Night for good TV.
Or you watch right with Nick at Night. Keep it clean on the screen, Nick at Night. Use it only as directed, cause it's copyright protected. Keep your TV set connected, Nick at Night.
To break that endless cycle of mundane work and woe, more doctors recommend Nick at Night than any remedy I know.
Nick at Night has the knack to be all it's cracked up to be. In fact, Nick at Night is packed with exactly my kind of classic TV.
Come on, everybody, the time is right. We're gonna show you how to Nick at Night.
Just click on, twist that dial, and Nick at Night.
Nick at Night, it's TV done right. Your favorite shows, your favorite stars. Watch Nick at Night, that's where they are. Nick at Night.
Nick at Night, the video magician. Nick at Night.
The choice is in your hand.
Nick at Night, it's better television. You'll have to join the folks in TV Land.
TV Land Classics. Nick at Night. All night, every night. Nick at Night.
When the Giants call and the sun sings love for the best TV, you can always go to Nick at Night.
Turn it on.
Turn it on.
Tune it in.
Tune it in.
Turn it on, tune it in, tune it up. Nick at Night.
Oh, what a desert the TV dial places. Nick at Night is a tropical oasis. Good TV refreshes you and me.
All right. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. Gonna start with a little bit of local news. I want to work on a video about Colorado. I think Colorado is one of the weirdest, most noided out states out there, and I think that's something that people don't really talk about. I listened to the Colorado Sun this morning, and they talked a little bit about how, like, our healthcare industry here was under attack, but one of the weird things that I noticed them talk about was our relationship with the Colorado River, and especially the way that Jared Polis talks about his relationship with us. I heard him say something along the lines of he would chain himself to a bridge to stop it getting built, but this is also the same person who gave personal information away to ICE agents so that way they could track them down. So I don't know, it's interesting, and I think that Colorado is one of the states that you'll really get that weird impression of. I'm gonna go ahead and check and see if they have any videos about it, but if not, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull up their article and read it to you guys. Because like I said, I want to start working on a video. So I'm also gonna go ahead and pull up the docs so that way you guys can see the process of researching as I'm doing it. Alright, so, it doesn't look like there's anything on the Colorado Sun's website, but let's see if I can find.
The governor of Colorado wants to build a $29 million pedestrian bridge project in front of the state capitol. This winding, snaking walkway / art installation crossing 4 lanes of traffic to Lincoln Veterans Memorial Park.
Interesting.
I understand that Governor Polis wants a legacy project, but there's no good reason to build this. And there are so many reasons not to build it. I don't know if this monument to government waste can be stopped, but we ought to try. The public's initial reaction to the renderings of the bridge appears to be a mix of shock, disgust, and amusement. Yet the governor appears dead set on building this bridge, even if no one else wants it except him and some of his rich donor friends. I should say, I have no issue with them having power and money. I presume that they have earned both.
Of course he has to put in that disclaimer that if he that he likes power and money.
The two big criticisms of this project I've heard so far is that it's ugly
or that
and
there's
it's a
nothing
waste of
wrong
money.
with it.
I'll get to those in a moment. I actually think that the best argument against the project is the fact that the governor can't come up with a good argument for it. The governor's office says this project honors our shared history, showcases local artists, and brings the community together. Well, it's bringing the community together in opposition. The preservation group Historic Denver wrote, quote, "Plowing a functionally useless bridge through a historic site serves no purpose, but does extensive damage." As for this being a $29 million outdoor art gallery, Capitol Hill United Neighbors, which represents the people who live around here, artsy types, lots of them, they oppose the project too, saying, quote, "We believe the rich and diverse stories of our state should be honored. Constructing a massive bridge does not achieve that goal." So then the governor's office pivoted to saying that it was about pedestrian safety. So we pulled the pedestrian crash data for this spot, and last year there was 1 crash. So then the governor's office says it's about a wheelchair ramp access to the Capitol. If you think a wheelchair ramp needs to cost $29 million, the governor's got a bridge to sell you. And finally, the governor's office now says that the walkway will provide visiting school kids with a place to sit and eat their lunch at the
Can you hear
Capitol.
me?
They have provided no good reason to permanently disfigure one of the most beautiful man-made places in Colorado. This area, from the state capitol to the Denver City and County building, is one of America's greatest examples of the City Beautiful movement. It's why Civic Center Park is a National Historic Landmark. From above, you get an even better sense of its classic architecture, its formal order and balance.
This is a really
And the
pretty
governor
area.
wants to slap on what looks like an abandoned water slide. We've learned the city of Denver quietly rejected the state's plans for an even bigger, longer bridge that would have connected all the way to Civic Center Park. So Polis pulled the project back to just state-owned property, his land. Actually, no, our land. There are some publicly owned spaces in this state that should be off limits to pet projects. We wouldn't let somebody draw a mural on Red Rocks or open a motel inside the Mesa Verde cliff dwellings. I've heard people say that the bridge is ugly. I think that's unfair. It's
I like how the
only
first
jarring to
example
look
is,
at
of course,
because
graffiti.
It would be here, in this classic historic space. I can imagine all kinds of neighborhoods in Denver where a modern-looking, winding pedestrian bridge like that would look cool. Or other cities in Colorado that would love to have it in their downtown. Great. Let them have it. Put it there. But I'm told there were no other locations considered, and no other projects considered for this location. The governor wants his legacy project done here, and he wants it done fast, by next summer, for Colorado's 150th birthday, America's 250th. The project was unveiled at the annual Meisel dinner, suggesting it's got the support of Larry Meisel, who's a big campaign donor in Colorado. And this project is being pitched to other wealthy Coloradans, names you know, to get them behind the project. That explains why so many people, including city and state
That's
leaders
a good
who have
name to take
concerns,
down.
are staying silent, rather than risk angering the governor and some of the richest political donors in Colorado. So I'll say it. If they build this $29 million pedestrian bridge project on the front lawn of the state capitol, it will become a monument to government waste. State legislators are dealing with their second straight year of budget cuts, and the federal government keeps shifting more and more costs to the states. Yet every day, these legislators are going to look out their window at millions of dollars they could have spent on something useful. Every time Colorado can't fund a program, people will say, well, we had that $29 million to spend on that pedestrian bridge to nowhere. It will become a symbol of Colorado's misplaced priorities and wasteful spending. Let me just add, this is still a foolish project, even if it doesn't cost taxpayers $1 more than the $1.5 million they've already spent. Because there's a chance that our wealthy governor and his even richer friends could just write a check for the whole thing. So let me be clear. Making a bad idea free does not make it a good idea. We asked the governor's office to point us towards someone, anyone, who supports this project. They directed us to an artist who, as it turns out, is being paid to do community outreach for the project. If you have to pay people to like your ideas, maybe they're not great ideas. Being governor comes with perks and power, but there are limits. There must be limits. Someone must be able to tell the governor and his rich friends no. No, you cannot spoil a one-of-a-kind place in Colorado with your pet project. Build the monument to your legacy somewhere other than the front lawn of the people's house. Because Governor Polis, this Capitol is your office. This is not your personal property.
Governor Polis wants to hear from you about his idea for an $18 million pedestrian bridge from the state capitol to Veterans Memorial Park.
The idea drew a lot of criticism, so now the governor wants to know how Coloradans want to celebrate the state's 150th birthday.
Your political reporter, Sean Boyd, spoke with the governor today.
Sean, he is taking some heat over this.
Yeah, you know, it is one of those things. People either love it or they hate it, and those that hate it have been very vocal about it. But the governor isn't convinced they represent where most Coloradans are at. So he decided to get a bead on public sentiment with a survey.
It's hard to get people's attention on things, and wow, people are talking about this.
Governor Polis admits when he released renderings of the Colorado 150 walkway, he didn't expect such a visceral reaction.
Governor Polis wants to hear from you about more.
Coloradans want to celebrate the state's 150th birthday.
Your political reporter, Sean Boyd, spoke with the governor today.
Sean, he is taking some heat over this.
Yeah, you know, it is one of those things. People either love it or they hate it, and those that hate it have been very vocal about it. But the governor isn't convinced they represent where most Coloradans are at. So he decided to get a bead on public sentiment with a survey.
It's hard to get people's attention on things, and wow, people are talking about this.
Wow. Governor Polis admits when he released renderings of the Colorado 150 walkway, he didn't expect such a visceral reaction.
One thing I was excited about is there's so much passion, but how do you measure that?
With time running out, the birthday celebration is August 1st, 2026. The governor decided to do a survey.
Rather than just sort of stick our finger in the wind, let's try to get some data behind this.
The survey includes 4 questions. Do you want the walkway? If not, do you want a different big project, several smaller projects, or no project? If so, do you want the walkway the way it is or scaled back? And because our 150th anniversary is the same year as the nation's 250th, are you more excited to celebrate one over the other?
We're the kid with the Christmas birthday, right? Our birthday's Christmas. Like, Colorado's the only state where our big anniversaries are on our country's big anniversaries. What would be a nightmare to me is if it comes back and it's like 50.2 to 49.8.
And then what?
I mean, then we're kind of where we are, and we have to make our best judgment on where to go.
But he says ultimately, it's not about what he wants.
I happen to be the guy in the seat who helps to orchestrate this birthday event. And yes, President Trump gets to be the guy in the White House who orchestrates our 250th. So whether you like me, whether you like President Trump, that's irrelevant. It's about our birthday, and we want to make sure we observe that appropriately.
We've posted a link to the survey on our website, cbscolorado.com. It will only be open until midnight Monday. There has been some confusion around the cost of the walkway. The governor told me it is $18 million, not $28 million. He says the other $10 million is for improvements to the park that will take place over several years. $8 million of the $18 million will come from the state, and the Governor Polis says he plans to raise the other $10 million. He thinks he will have no problem doing that.
Yeah, but probably not. Okay, so if people say they want something different, who's going to decide what that different thing is?
Yeah, so the governor indicated he will cross that bridge if and when he comes to it, but he said there will definitely be an opportunity for more community feedback.
Going to be interesting to follow this, Sean.
Yeah. Get online, take the survey.
Yeah, right. Time is ticking.
The governor of Colorado.
This is the same video we watched, chat.
So, remember that development I told you about a few months ago? The most exciting new development coming to Denver in decades. It's the River Mile project. It's going to take 20 years to finish, but when it does, it's going to...
Let's see, this will be very interesting. Denver real estate market.
What is up, gang? It's market update time. If you've been around here for a while, you know what this is. It's just me. It's no editing. It's no music. It's no nothing. We're just looking at stats and talking about what they mean. That's the most important thing. I don't get on here and say, we have 13,425 active listings. I will mention that number because it actually is important here, but I'm going to put it in context and give you an idea of what's going on in the Denver metro right now, because we are here in mid-ish July, and this is an interesting point in any real estate cycle because it's when the market kind of starts to turn in a seasonal, cyclical market like we have here in the Denver metro, and especially this year of our Lord, 2020. So we're about midway through 2025, and I wanted to give you a list of the Denver suburbs that I love this year. I'm not going to drone on like I usually do, or at least I'm going to try not to, and I just want to give you four Denver suburbs that I think are awesome options if you're considering moving somewhere or buying a house. I've done videos like this before, so this is sort of an update for 2025. And the places that I talk about a lot and that I have discussed in the past that I love, Littleton, Centennial, North Glen, Thornton, still love all those places. Not like replacing anything with new stuff necessarily. Still mean everything I said about favorite Denver suburbs in years past, and not necessarily trying to knock anything off the podium, but just this is more of places to live that I'm liking a lot more for one reason or another at present time. So let's get into it. And real quick, in case you don't know, Sam Newman, I'm a Denver real estate agent, run a real estate team here in the metro called the Alchemy Group. We would love to be your go-to real estate resource. If you have any questions or want to know more about the current market, we would love to chat it over with you. Our contact information is everywhere. So the first one is Greenwood Village. And you may be familiar with this if you've been on the south side of town at all. This is kind of the first stop right after you leave Denver addresses. Oftentimes it's just known as the Denver Tech Center, the DTC, but it actually spans quite a bit outside that. If you look at a map here, you see Greenwood Village, sort of the city boundaries here. So it goes, this is I-25 here, so east and west is 25. I'm really talking about this area over on the east side. West of I-25 is very nice. It's essentially extension of Cherry Hills Village. So it's very, very expensive over here, big lots, gated, that sort of thing. It's very nice if that's what you're looking for. There's a place called The Preserve, a neighborhood that I absolutely love in there. But if you're looking for something a little more affordable, we're looking on the east side here, around the Denver Tech Center, and I'm particularly talking about this Cherry Creek area. It's just to the south, let's say, Cherry Creek Reservoir and Cherry Creek State Park, which is where it gets its name. This is also very confusing because...
So just a note about Mizell, the person behind the funding of the walkway. He is also part of this Mizell Museum. The Mizell Museum is a place where Judaism in Denver interacts with the rest of the world. It's 25 years of existence. The museum has hosted many important exhibits of global concern, including 100 years of art in Israel, art from the former Soviet Union to America, and the dead weight of complacency. In addition, the museum offers a number of reputable educational programs like Bridges to Understanding, which introduces students to Jewish, Asian Pacific, Native American, Hispanic, African American, and Muslim cultures. The part that I'm interested in is art from the Soviet Union to America, and then let's see if there's any information. Interesting. I wonder if this was shown there. No. Okay. The vibrancy of Israel's democracy. So this guy is a huge Zionist. Interesting, interesting. Mizell Museum and the Counterterrorism Education Learning Lab, the CEL. In 1982, Mizell and his wife Carol founded the Mizell Museum in Denver, Colorado. Right here. The museum provides regular artistic and educational programs that promote community understanding and tolerance for residents of the Rocky Mountain region. The Mizell Center for Arts and Culture, the MAC, is also named for Mizell, but it is a separate organization located in Denver at the Jewish Community Center. The MAC illustrates human experience through creative and cultural programs in the performing, visual, and literacy arts for the Jewish community and the community at large. Mizell also founded, as part of the Mizell Museum and its larger umbrella, the Mizell Institute, the Counterterrorism Education Learning Lab. The CEL is a nonprofit institution dedicated to preventing terrorism through education, empowerment, and engagement. The CEL has been endorsed by former Secretaries of Homeland Security Jeanette Napolitano, Tom Ridge, and Michael Chertoff. Very interesting. The CEL hosts a speaker series inviting experts, government officials, and foreign dignitaries to address issues surrounding terrorism and global security. Past speakers have included John McCain, former U.S. Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, former National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster, former Chief of Staff to the Secretary of Defense Jeremy Bash, and the Director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Matthew G. Olson. The CEL runs the Community Awareness Program, an interactive program designed to provide citizens with the basic tools to help prevent terrorism and criminal activity in support of the Department of Homeland Security's "If you see something, say something," which if you work in corporate America, you've definitely heard repeated over and over. Celebrate the Faces of Israel. Alright. As a co-founder and chair of the Museum of Tolerance Jerusalem, Larry Mizell made introductory remarks at the Faces of Israel conference on April 27, 2023. The conference was intended to celebrate people who have built and strengthened Israel over the past 75 years, as well as its diversity and tolerance. The Museum of Tolerance Jerusalem constitutes by its very nature a center in which people will become familiar with the fundamental value of the Jewish people and one that will become a modern Abrahamic tent. Politicians participating in the event included President Isaac Herzog, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Thomas Needs, Jerusalem Mayor Moshe Lyon, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. In October 2024, before the presidential election, Mr. Mizell and U.S. Senator Cory Gardner hosted a private fundraising event in Aspen featuring Republican Vice Candidate J.D. Vance. A Republican. So, Mizell is one of Jared Polis's. Let's find out. Pull up Open Secrets. Colorado Democratic Party on itemized donations. Here's the article that I was looking for. Alright. Biggest fundraisers. Let's see what this looks like. This is the propaganda that Jared Polis' buddy Larry Mizell was putting together with the Faces of Israel.
Native-born Israelis, they are men and women. They are members of the LGBTQ community and
they are
straight people.
Zionists.
They are people who run the
Israel's security and prosperity.
Made history by becoming the first predominantly Arab
United States. Most
together.
Tolerance that for all those tolerance that I visited. But
be able to do it. I chaired a major congressional in January. Proclaimed
tolerant, pluralistic, democratic, and importantly, safe
Ron DeSantis'
than
video.
my native
I just
Canada.
want to see what this looks like and why he's doing this.
2 nights ago, I was
bullshit.
given the honor of my life. As I was selected to be one of the 12 torchbearers at our nation's 75th birthday celebration. To me, this is validation that my efforts to promote our country, which is so often misunderstood abroad, are seen as strategically
misunderstood in the genocide they are currently committing.
In the torchlighting ceremony on Mount Herzl, I was given the particular honor to represent the Jewish diaspora. In my remarks, I indicated that as the homeland of the Jewish people, Israel belongs to all of us. Israeli-born, Israeli immigrants such as my wife and myself, and Jews in the diaspora. We are one people, Israel's security and prosperity. And we thank you for your...
Everybody at this is talking about Israel's security. Meanwhile, they're the richest, in terms of weapons, nation in the world.
Genuine friendship, which is entirely reciprocated. America cannot have a better friend and ally than Israel. But, Mr. Governor, we have a common foe in this region, Iran, that needs to be confronted and contained.
Wow, this is from all the way back in 2023, that this guy is talking about Iran, and he is reaching out to Jared Polis saying, Mr. Governor, please help us. Please help defend us against this threat that we're creating. Oh no.
Iran is a hostile actor that sows conflict and terrorism in the Middle East and beyond. Dangerously, Iran is also advancing apace towards the development of nuclear weapons, something all American administrations vowed to prevent. But words alone will not be enough to stop or even slow down Iran's nuclear ambitions. Israel and the United States need to work together to curb and eventually eliminate Iran's nuclear program. We jointly need a credible plan that includes a multitude of tools at our disposal.
Ambassador to Israel,
right,
David Friedman. Thank you, David. And Casey and I's friend, the great Dr. Miriam Adelson. Thank you so much for being here. So Israel's more than 3,000 years old and yet 75 years young. Throughout
3,000 years old.
2,000 years of exile and dispersion of the Jewish people, the bond between the Jewish people and this Holy Land was never severed. Both the Balfour Declaration and the British Mandate recognize the historic connection of the Jewish people with the land of Israel and acknowledge the compelling basis for reconstituting their national home right here in the Holy Land.
The Balfour decision is also what purposefully hobbled the infrastructure of Palestine for the people that live there.
Nevertheless, when David Ben-Gurion proclaimed the establishment of the modern state of Israel 75 years ago, he did.
And he has to clarify modern state because he knows that when he says that Israel's 3,000 years old, he's spreading propaganda and lies.
So, knowing that the odds were long. How could a ragtag group of Sabras, refugees, and Holocaust survivors possibly prevail against powerful Arab armies determined to snuff out the Jewish state in its infancy?
This sounds crazy racist.
The odds were about as long as the odds that a young shepherd boy armed with rocks and a slingshot could slay a giant. But just as David defeated Goliath, the newly minted Israelis beat the odds, won their independence, and preserved their right to self-determination. Israel's victory meant the long-standing dream had become reality, a national homeland for the Jewish people in the land of Israel. Now, Winston Churchill noted the establishment of the Jewish state was, quote, an event in world history to be viewed in the perspective, not of a generation or a century, but in the perspective of 1,000, 2,000, or even 3,000 years. That, Churchill continued, is a standard of temporal values or time values which seem very much out of accord with the perpetual click-clack of our rapidly challenging moods and of the age in which we live. This, Churchill concluded, is an event in world history. And Winston Churchill was right. Israel's rebirth has been a momentous development in world history.
Also, Winston Churchill, another famous Zionist, disgusting person.
History. Reconstituting the Jewish state, though, was just the initial challenge. Maintaining a democracy in the heart of the Middle East has been no easy task, and Israel has faced perhaps more challenges than any country has in the ensuing 75 years after independence. We saw the momentous victory in the Six-Day War and the reunification of Jerusalem in 1967. We saw a war of attrition waged by Egypt.
All right, I'll be right back. Got some food on the stove, chat. Sorry about that, but I'm back. No, we lost a viewer.
Operation stability of the Jewish state. Now, we even held a public event at Ariel University. We brought the delegation for prayer at the West $1,000 since I've been governor for security at Jewish day schools. Years ago, Congressman, I was an outspoken proponent and advocate of relocating our embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Which happened. Still stolen land.
When we were trying to cajole the previous administration to do it, I actually launched a very small delegation over here. We looked at a bunch of different sites. We did a big press conference, announced that this was going to happen. We were confident, and there was a plethora of possibilities to be able to do it. I chaired a major congressional hearing in the fall of 2017 leading up to the decision, probably the most attended congressional hearing of my congressional career, and both sides of the aisle acknowledged that this is something that needed to be done. Part of the thing that really was compelling to me is you see how important these religious sites are to people, not just
the
Jews,
one
but
thing
Christians
that both
and
sides
Muslims.
can come together on
And
is
I
money
can
for
tell you
Israel
with
and doing
Israeli
really
sovereignty
crazy
over the city of
genocidal things
Jerusalem,
towards the people of Palestine.
people have the ability to practice their religion freely. They have the ability to visit those sites freely. That would just factually not be true if that were in other hands. And so,
what about the rights for Muslim people to visit their holy sites? What about the rights of the Palestinian people to live? What is this?
So we thought it was very important for that. We also just thought it was important.
This is the person that our governor, Jared Polis, who is a Democrat who claims to be on the left, actually associates himself with and thinks that he can hide it because he's not actually speaking at this event. He is just giving his support to his friend Larry Mizell.
To honor the historical record.
He might be speaking at this event.
Jerusalem is, in fact, going back thousands of years, the eternal capital of the Jewish people. U.S. policy should recognize the truth. We have...
Oh, also the guy before Ron DeSantis was the Jerusalem mayor, Moshe Lion, who's also an immigrant to Israel. So isn't it strange that there's so much American money and so many Americans moving to Israel? Could it mean anything besides the fact that we're bought and sold by the weapons industry, so that way we can continue giving people and money to Israel?
The U.S. and Israel, many common interests. We also have many common enemies. And there's perhaps no adversary more hostile to both Israel and the United States than the Islamist regime in Iran. And I, as a U.S. Navy officer,
Islamist.
I was deployed to Iraq during the Iraq War. And at the time, we were stationed in places like Fallujah, Ramadi. These are Sunni Arab areas in the western part of Iraq where really the Al-Qaeda in Iraq movement had started. That was really the task to put that down, and U.S. forces did a very good job of doing that. What I noticed, though, as that deployment went on, that the overwhelming majority of the casualties that we were starting to see in Iraq at that time were not in Sunni Arab areas. That was not at the hands of Al-Qaeda in Iraq. It was at the hands of Shia militias that were funded and controlled by the regime in Iran.
Of course, because it fits his narrative and exactly what he's trying to do. He wants war with Iran. He's one of these psycho Christians that think that they're going to start the biblical apocalypse and they're going to be one of the lucky ones to survive.
And they were responsible for killing hundreds of U.S. service members during the Iraq campaign, and of course were responsible for killing hundreds of U.S. Marines in Beirut in 1983 when they bombed the Marine Corps barracks. And so since its inception in 1979, the Islamist regime in Iran has viewed the United States as its foremost enemy, and Israel probably close behind, and so we share that. And if you look at the challenges that we see as a matter of strategic in this region, Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons creates a risk unlike you've not seen in this region. Their ideology, an apocalyptic ideology.
Okay, just as a small clarification here, Iran does not have nuclear weapons, nor are they really working towards them. Iran is working on trying to be just part of the modern nation. If you don't know, you need nukes to survive because of countries like the United States who actually use them. What are we doing here?
Combined with the ability to use humanity's worst weapons, represents a threat, an existential threat to the state of Israel, and it represents a threat to the United States of America. And I'm just proud that as a congressman, like many of you, we saw through this many years ago when they tried to do this Iranian nuclear deal. We said that all it would do was empower Iran.
It did not empower Iran. It made them poorer.
And guess what happened? They got billions and billions of dollars flooded into their coffers.
The Iran deal was one of the best deals that the United States could have hoped for. We destroyed it so we could go to war with them. What is wrong with our leaders?
What did they use that money to? Did they make the citizenry's lives better in Iran? Of course not. They used that to fund terrorism all around the Middle East. And so we opposed it. The deal failed, and I think it's important going forward that we learn from that and learn that you cannot approach them in a way that is going to empower the regime.
Sus that it just closed like that.
The Jewish people.
Be written in the crematoria or the death camps, or in the carnage left by terrorist attacks. Rather, it should be...
There they are, drawing that parallel to from the Holocaust to the terrorist attacks. These two are not the same. Also, they continue to conflate Zionism with being Jewish. You don't have to be a Zionist if you're Jewish.
Written in the fertile fields that feed the hungry, in the wonders of modern medicine that cure the sick, in the classrooms of our schools and universities that help defeat the plague of ignorance. Yes.
Unity through which it is possible to bridge gaps and establish trust between
always ask me, what is it that I should do to succeed?
Nobel Peace Prize in Economics? This guy's gonna be a monster.
Many...
Focused on opening the airport for our chartered flight for humanitarian aid, bringing in 12 tons of humanitarian aid, unloading it, loading it with Jewish refugees, bringing them to Israel, and turning around and doing the same. So while in the beginning of the war, we were very focused on humanitarian aid inside, that there was no medicine for many people, there was no food, evacuation that was very risky, that you saw these rabbis were out of the country and their wives taking the orphans, 3 women taking 100 orphans over the border. You saw real heroic stories. So as I accept this award, I know the heroes on the ground are the ones. Needs change on the ground in Ukraine. We continue to work with
Almost 2 years.
Not that I'm counting.
So you're practically Israeli, right? Sometimes there are disagreements.
comfortable at home. Sure. Now, when you talk about needs change throughout the year, in the beginning of the war, we were focused on evacuation. And I remember evacuating 1,500 orphans from inside of Ukraine in the middle of the night. Where did you bring them? Well, many of them came to Israel, and many of them went.
They'll do this for orphans of Ukraine while they're creating orphans of their own right next to their own country.
To neighboring countries. But as the war broke out, all of the airports inside Ukraine were closed. So we opened up operations in Moldova, but in Moldova the airport was closed.
Overcome the prejudicial image of Judaism, Semitic languages, and
is that and bring them in to work with you. So we started by being tolerance and
מרחק שנות אור ממני.
לא ידעתי כלום. זה כאילו התחלתי מאפס.
בהתחלה חשבתי שאני...
Hi, and give
35 cities and communities across the country, from Kiryat Shmona to Eilat. In the next few years, the program will expand to additional local councils.
לא משנה לאן הם ייקחו את זה אחר כך, העיקר שיהיה להם את האור.
I like how Israel gets all of these really cool educational funding programs and all of this stuff, while us in America, the richest country in the world, are getting our Department of Education systematically destroyed.
אופציה לנסות משהו חדש ולהגיד אני יכול ויכולה.
It's a city up north which has a mixed Arab population, which means there's Druze, Muslims, and Christian Arabs. And so we talk about the big picture of inclusion and tolerance, and I'd like to share my personal story of how I see it in my day-to-day life and in my Army service. So when I first came into school, I was overwhelmed with a lot of students and a lot to teach them. I had a lot of material to go through. And so I first came into class, and my first class that I had, I noticed that one troublemaker kid. We all know those students in the classroom. And as a teacher, I was now in that position of a teacher, and I noticed that troublemaker kid. And as a student...
This is the PR wing of the IDF.
As the students started to learn and the year went on, I saw that the teachers kind of avoided him, tried to put him off to the side, interact with him as little as possible, because as little as trouble as possible. And I decided, you know what, no, I'm going to take his hand, and I'm gonna walk with him, and I'm gonna try to go on this process with him. And so I came into class one day, and we sat down, and we started with building an email. That's something that he didn't have. That was something really important that was needed for our class. So we made him an email, and then we opened up the website that we used to build websites, which was Coding Rooms, and we started our code with a title called "Right is the Best." My student's name was Right. He was a Druze Arab, and so of course right is the best because our students are always the best. And
they're paper-overing the racism that student face by saying that they use their diversity initiatives. The same thing that happens here in America.
Went from building a title to adding a...
Except this is way more monstrous because literally right next door they're doing a genocide.
Picture to adding fonts and colors and different pages and buttons and so many different features, and he left the class so proud of him. He came back the next week with the biggest smile on his face and said, Daniela, I have something to show you. And so he came to me and he sat me down in class, and he showed me this awesome website that my mouth dropped. I thought he pulled it off of Google. I didn't really believe him at first. And I saw that he went through all the code, he understood what he was doing, and he managed to build a full website. And in that moment, I realized this is it. This is what we're doing. We can teach a student to open up a computer and learn how to code, but what we're doing is teaching our students to believe in themselves, teaching our students to have this.
And
years ago, more than
here should be part, and we
who move around in wheelchairs who find it difficult to reach their end destination safely. This is a problem that adds additional barriers to living a safe and independent life. More so, it causes injuries to the person himself, those around them, and of course, property. Those same barriers are due to environmental factors such as bumps in the road and human factors such as poor field of vision and involuntary movements. According to the National Health Organization report, 75 million people of
on the right side of the
here should be part.
And our solution is a smart key. It's a smart unique key with locking and unlocking status. And it's work without electric, without Wi-Fi, because it's mechanical. And the vision of our company that will be faster and easier, and it's also gonna make up your mind.
So now I'm gonna explain how the key will work. As you can see,
we had to develop our company.
Been diagnosed yet, who also have OCD, which caused them to forget.
Another interesting side note that I want to do a little bit more research on here, and I'll make a note of it, is the intersection of disability-related technology and Israel. Because if you look, that's where a lot of the funding for things like these alternative keys. Earlier in the video, they were talking about OCD and the market for OCD drugs. And this is really the bread and butter for one of Israel's biggest, I guess, profiteers, is being able to say, like, we're very inclusive. Look how much we do for our customers. Look how much we can create for people with disabilities. Meanwhile, it's all so expensive that no one can afford it. Small thought here, but I kind of think that the way that Israel funds disability-related technology is because of their eugenicist feelings. My thinking here is that they put a lot of money into these technologies, knowing that a lot of people won't have access to it, and it does two things. It makes it look good that they're paying money for these technologies, but it also makes it more expensive for people who need these technologies to access them, which in the long run makes it more difficult for people without money to survive with disabilities. So it's kind of like a weird image washing where you say, oh, look at all the good that we're doing, but we're actually mostly making money because nobody can really afford it, and it's not at a reasonable price for most people in our country. But that's something I'll have to do some more research on. But let's get back to this weirdness.
According to Arid Market Research, the global door market was sized by and valued by 124.4 billion in 2021, and it's projected to hit 206.6 billion by 2031. Our business model is gonna be B2B, also B2C. We want to work as B2B because we want to collaborate with big companies who work with doors and keys, such as Ravaria.
Our competitive advantage about them that our system are cheaper than their system, and they're only available in Canada and in the USA.
Lazarus will operate on the B2B business model. We will sell our EP system to electric wheelchair manufacturers, insurance companies, handicapped day centers, and cities. We will sell our EP system as in design and technology to
have a prototype and a lot more.
until
Also, designer technology for something that gets people access to being able to drive and use a car and participate in everyday life. That's luxury technology. It's not the bare basics. This is what I'm talking about when we talk about Israel and their eugenicist streaks.
have our final product.
At last, we would like to.
Okay, that's a minimization of it. That's a big part of it. That's the underground PR side of it. There's obviously also the outright genocide happening.
Okay. At last, we would like you to remember.
Woman who, my mom was calling me. She was like, "I can't believe it. This is the greatest day of our lives," and I was overjoyed. It was a great moment, and once again, thank you to Ruth for making that all happen.
So I have to ask you, and this is perhaps an embarrassing question, but I promise I have a point. For the sake of the people of my generation, who are millennials, who inadvertently did not know they were growing up on your voice, how did you get in the movie Cars?
Right. So.
Because he's a Zionist with a lot of money, they can donate that kind of money to these corporations that only care about the money that gets donated to them. Anyways, that's enough of this. Really what this illustrates is that Jared Polis is just like another Democrat. Like, he's literally working with people like Larry Mizell, who's a crazy Zionist and who wants to put so much more money towards, like, a genocide. And he's just standing alongside and saying, like, yeah, I'll take your money for your project. That being said, there is an update on this bridge that I want to get a little bit more information on that I saw that happened. So essentially, Governor Polis, like we saw in that video a couple videos ago, put out a survey about the bridge that he was building with Larry Mizell, and it looked like people did not want that bridge to be built. So let's go ahead and watch what he has to say about it. Okay, so we already saw the public input. Don't care too much about that. That wasn't as useful or helpful as I thought it was going to be. Let's subscribe to News 9 while we're here.
Back again for another conversation with Governor Jared Polis. This is our weekly standard invitation to the mansion to speak with you. What's happening with this walkway, pedestrian bridge?
So the results are in. 5 days, we had over 84,000 people reply to a survey, which is huge. I mean, that's like huge. I've done very small things in the past, had 1,000 or 2. I mean, this level of interest is amazing, which is very exciting that so many people are interested in Colorado's 150th birthday and America's 250th. And overwhelmingly, about 94% don't want to do the walkway. So I am going to do everything I can to make sure there is no walkway built, and 94% of the survey participants agree with that.
You said you wanted a clear, definitive answer from the people. It sounds like you got it. Were you surprised by the results?
You know, I always don't know. Like, sometimes the online buzz is different than the reality. Like, I've been around this enough where I know, oh, just because people online say this, it doesn't mean it's true. I mean, I suspected that might be the case. I didn't know the percentages, but you never know till people actually survey and do it. The other thing, I was worried that only like 2,000 people participated, which I wouldn't have known what to do with as much. I'm sure that means that, you know, top people. But 84,000 is a very good number in 5 days. It means that people were engaged, interested. And the fact that it was so overwhelming makes it very clear to me that I should do everything I can to make sure this doesn't move forward, and it won't move forward.
Yeah, your office is the driver of the project. So if you guys say, let's not do this, there's no way that this happens.
I think so. I would have had to go out and raise the $10 million. So, I mean, what if other donors come forward and just say, we want to do it, screw that? I mean, my job would be to block it, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I think what I'm saying publicly is I'm going to chain myself to the Capitol Plaza and prevent the bulldozers from building this.
Well, I'm glad you're willing to do.
Literally brought out the handcuffs. Homie's out there like, I'm going to chain myself to the Capitol building.
Do it, and it wouldn't just be me out there. So let me ask you this: Do you regret the way that the whole process kind of worked? Because we heard from a number of groups, from neighbors to historical preservationists to veterans who love that park, who were just like, hold on, like we should have been on the front end of this process and not the back. Do you regret the way the process played out?
Well, you know, I think that there's a lot of, again, 84,000 people are engaged and interested in this, and I want to talk briefly about some of the other things we learned about people who want to celebrate this. I don't think it was as much the process. I mean, I think had they been consulted early, Colorado still wouldn't want this walkway. If I had to dig deeper, and this is just guessing, I'd say part of it is the tough fiscal environment that we're in. People don't want, even though it was matching funds from the private sector, they don't want to spend $8 or $9 million in public funds on this. I think there's some questions about people who liked or didn't like the artistic aspects of it. Those are probably some of them. I mean, I'm sure everybody wants to be consulted forever, but not everybody agrees on everything. But I think what's clear is that, again, with this kind of turnout, 94% not wanting this built, we need to make sure it's not built.
You were going to devote $8.5 million in general fund revenues under your discretion to this project. Do you anticipate taking some of that money and sprinkling it around to other projects being done around the state?
So people were a little bit more divided on those questions. So there were a lot of people who wanted no physical projects for the anniversary, and that was a plurality. Second to that was outside of Denver, smaller outside of Denver. Very few people wanted in Denver. And I get that, it's a big state. So I think it'll be some combination, probably a very small projects. I think we can hopefully return some of that money for other uses. So we'll look at all those different possibilities. I would add, we're also working with the Sesquicentennial Commission. The state has a 150-250 commission. Separately and distinct, there's a number of projects that are underway that are kind of not permanent projects, but exhibitions. For instance, at our state fair in 2026, we're going to have a major 250, 150 component to that. Another big takeaway from the survey is, we asked very clearly, which are you more excited about? America 250, Colorado 150, both equally won by a lot. So we're going to keep this branding that we have. We have this 150, 250 branding. We were thinking, do we have to pivot to just talk about Colorado, to just talk about America? People are into both of them. And so you're going to see a lot of that branding. You're going to see 150, 250, it's countries 250th, and Colorado's 150th, and people want to see both celebrated, presumably because we're proud to be Coloradans and proud to be Americans.
Mm-hmm. So the America 250, Colorado 150 Commission can't do capital projects. That's part of their deal.
Right, exactly.
So is there a lane for you to come in with some of those state funds to do some capital projects if there's support for it?
Yeah, I would say if there are, they would be smaller and outside of Denver based on this, right? Some people are happy doing nothing. It wasn't a majority, it was a plurality. Others want to see something. Let me actually take that back. It might have been, I can't remember if it was a majority or plurality, but I would say that, let me just ask that again and let me take another.
Yeah, so the idea of taking some of your 8.5 million that you were thinking about for the walkway and using it on capital projects for commemorations.
I would say if we do, it would be smaller and not in Denver. So I think first of all, at least some of the reticence around a big walkway was the cost, and so I think some of that money should go back and be needed for other things. But if there's something smaller, again, people were more divided. The majority or more people wanted nothing. Second was smaller projects outside of Denver. Very few wanted a project in Denver, a large project in Denver. So, maybe there's a way we can do something that's mobile, and like if we do an art piece, it can be in Junction, Pueblo, Fort Collins. Maybe it can be accessible to people and a much smaller and lower dollar amount. People are excited about the anniversary. I mean, the fact that 84,000 people responded in 5 days is an example of that. The fact that people are pretty strongly supportive of, again, 150 and 250 both equally is a statement about that. So we're going to do what we can to facilitate that, support the commission. If there's a way to incorporate art that tells our story in different parts of the state, I think that'd be something people are excited about.
Last question for you. There was a cost associated with the process so far. It appears about $1.5 million in taxpayer money was spent on it. Was that money wasted?
So yeah, it's likely between $1 million and $1.5 million. Obviously, we're going to stop and shut down any expenditures that will occur in the future. I'm hoping that some of it can be repurposed. You heard me mention art. Some of that was around a call for artists. We have a number of proposals that were not unique to a walkway. So there is a possibility that if the state moves forward with an art exhibition, either mobile or in a place that wants it, where there's outside support for it, we might be able to convey some of that over. Architecture plans for the walkway, that'll be on the shelf. Again, maybe some future governors will revive it. This wasn't something that we conceived of. This started Mayor Federico Pena, prior governor administrations, obviously.
Oh, I see now. So, yes, the money is getting moved over, but this Larry Mizell guy seems actually like a George Soros type. So, just a little bit of background on who George Soros actually is. George Soros is a vehement anti-communist, and one of the ways that he personally tried to eradicate communism was he worked with the CIA and various art institutes throughout the world to come up with a plan to replace all Soviet realism with abstract modern art. It seems like it's a very strange connection, but what happened is when you got that connection to away from Soviet realism, you had people going into this fantastical woo-woo thinking instead of actually thinking about the materialism. So just like a small, off-the-charts example, there's a movie called Salt of the Earth. It was an American film. It was very much in the style of Soviet realism, and it showed you the actual steps that you need to take to organize your union. Really cool. That being said, those types of movies don't get made anymore. The only type of movie that you'll see closely related to that is ones that glorify the actual, physical battle struggles that we faced. So, what does that mean here? If you look at the art for the walkway, it looks very much like modern art that would take away from the Soviet realism of a real city like Denver to make it more about the woo-woo magical thinking and the rich people magic that I guess they think they have. and think about that rather than thinking about the actual, like, real shit that the governor could be doing. So in my opinion, yes, he canceled the bridge. However, just because he canceled the bridge doesn't mean that he canceled the anti-communist project that is probably the bigger issue at stake, considering that he's working with people like Larry Mizell and other vehement Zionists that want to continue the genocide in Palestine and more than likely want to continue to suppress art and communism in countries like America.
See, these current sketches are the current architectural rendering.
So art de-radicalize people away from communism and make people way more into the woo-woo, like aliens are real kind of stuff.
Those will be
and make them not want to think about their labor struggles.
Shelf. We'll make sure it's not built. No idea if they'll ever be taken off that shelf if people want it for some other occasion. But of course, I'd like to see if there's a way that some of that money that was spent can produce some positive celebratory aspects for 150th. We're going to try to do that. Governor.
Those positive celebratory actions are more than likely going to be anti-communist and going to just take money from the taxpayers like he says he doesn't want to do.
Polis, thanks for your time.
Huge disappointment.
Thank you.
Also, big disappointment in this interviewer. Like, it took me 5 minutes to find the connection between Jared Polis and Mizell, and the direct contradiction between someone like Mizell and the policies that somebody like Jared Polis says that he wants to put in place. So, like, as an example, Larry Mizell is vehemently conservative and happy to work with people like Ron DeSantis. But Jared Polis says that he's trying to put in new regulations to allow greater amounts of people in housing and trying to make the housing market in Denver easier. You can't make the housing market in Denver easier while being a vehement Zionist and while also caping for Israel. Just facts. That being said, I do like the idea that Jared Polis did that poll. I want to pull up kind of where I think he got the idea. There's the previous Mexican president in, of course, Mexico, AMLO, would do basically polls to get people's idea of whether or not a project would be something that he would want to do. Most notably, there was an airport poll that he did, I think back in 2019, that led to people saying like, yeah, we want this airport, let's build this airport. Or, we don't want this airport, let's not build this airport. Here we go. Anyways, this is what I...
space-age airport meant to propel Mexico...
Anyways, this is what I think Governor Polis is trying... This is the move that I think Governor Polis was trying to do with his poll for the walkway, is I think he was trying to do what AMLO was doing with this airport deal.
A new space-age airport meant to propel Mexico into the 21st century. Its cost, $13 billion. Its construction well underway. And on Monday, President-elect Andrés Manuel López Obrador brought it to a juddering halt. The project was riddled with corruption and cronyism, he said. Instead, other airports will have their capacities increased.
Two runways will be built in the Santa Lucia Military Airport. The current airport in Mexico City will be improved, and the Toluca Airport will be reactivated.
But the decision was about more than just the airport or the markets. For many, it was an early sign of how the president-elect plans to govern. He said he'd let the people choose the way ahead via a national referendum. But when it was finished this Sunday, it was widely panned. Just 1% of the electorate turned out.
The questions were flawed, skewed in favor of the option that the new government wants. It was shown that voters could vote more than once in the different polling stations. I mean, hardly you could.
My bet is this guy is also an anti-communist. He works for the Wilson Center. from Duke University. He is a consultant for the World Bank and a specialist in contemporary Mexican public policy, particularly educational reform and anti-corruption policies. Isn't it ironic that this guy works for the World Bank and is saying that AMLO is still corrupt while working for the World Bank? Anyways.
We see this as a successful exercise of participative democracy.
López Obrador plans to change the constitution for more referendums on key issues. But that's not the sort of decision-making that will tempt future investors, say business leaders.
We hope that the
business leaders hate it. So of course this is going to be good for people.
incoming government make the
So I ask, why wasn't there the same backlash when Jared Polis did the same type of poll to people in Colorado? Is it because business leaders actually like Jared Polis?
rules of the game clearer, so that long-term projects don't suffer from the repercussions and mistrust of the Mexican government.
At the stock exchange, those repercussions were already being felt.
The drop in the peso is a real reflection of the deep concerns of the markets and the business community. But the president-elect says that he's not governing for them, he's governing for the people, and first and foremost the poor.
He says the airport project's cancellation will save...
Hell yeah, AMLO is a real one. He was actually trying to do something for the poor and for the people, and he was legitimately asking their opinion. It's not like Jared Polis, who was planning on putting this bridge through without asking people, saw that it wasn't popular, and then decided to put the money towards other projects while still continuing to work with Republican donors like Larry Mizell. So, now that we're back here, I want to go ahead and pull up this Colorado Sun article that I found. I think it's really important because Jared Polis is not who he tries to paint himself to be. There was some great reporting by, let's see, Taylor Dolvin is her name. I just want to read this article to you because this is ultimately how Jared Polis is actually just a Republican. Like, yeah, he's doing moderate things that are slightly better, but at the end of the day, his administration is still giving records to ICE. His administration is still working with the same Republican donors that other Republicans are working with. So, again, Taylor Dolvin. Colorado gave records to ICE 4 times since February in response to subpoenas, including once by mistake. Colorado law prohibits state and local entities from giving personal information to federal immigration agents unless it's being sought as part of a criminal investigation. State agencies under Governor Jared Polis have provided federal immigration officials with Coloradans' personal information in response to 4 subpoenas since February. Sherry Williams, a spokesperson for Polis, said Tuesday that 3 out of the 4 subpoenas were related to criminal investigations, and the state mistakenly responded to the 4th. Colorado law prohibits state agencies from providing personal information to federal immigration officials unless it is related to a criminal investigation. A judge found last month that an ICE subpoena the governor's office sought to respond to did not meet that expectation after a state employee sued to halt the disclosure. We are not implementing procedures to ensure the erroneous sharing of data does not happen in the future. Sorry, I misread that. We are implementing procedures to ensure that erroneous sharing does not happen again in the future, including elevating any potential responses to DHS subpoenas to the governor's office for review and approval. Interesting that now it's going to go straight to Polis. State agencies under Polis's purview have received at least 9 subpoenas from federal immigration officials since February. The first the state responded to came from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement's Homeland Security Investigations Division, February 14th, asking Colorado's Department of Labor and Employment to turn over all employment records since January 1st, 2024, for a business whose name is redacted. Of course, the business gets to have their name redacted after all of the bullshit they do. The second subpoena that the state responded to came to the State Labor Department from ICE on February 26, seeking any and all information for employment records for the past 3 years for a list of businesses whose names were again redacted. And the Controlled Substance Enforcement subpoena cited a criminal investigation involving human trafficking. The third subpoena that the state responded to, this one in error, came from ICE to the Department of Labor March 25th, seeking employee records and wages. Since June 1st, 2024, for a business whose name is again redacted. The subpoena, classified an immigration enforcement subpoena, cites an unspecified HS-1 investigation. The State Department of Public Health and Environment told ICE it did not have... apologies. The fourth subpoena that the state responded to came from ICE to the Colorado Department of Revenue Marijuana Enforcement Division on May 27, seeking any and all records and documents for a list of businesses whose names are again redacted. The Controlled Substance Enforcement subpoena cited a criminal investigation because weed is federally illegal. The state's Department of Public Health and Environment told ICE it did not have any responsive records in response to a February 28th subpoena seeking a list of all individuals born in the state between February 8th, 2004 and February 8th, 2005. All for children, literal children. Who else was born during that time period? It's certainly unclear exactly what records the agencies provided in their responses and whose information was included. In emails between state agencies and federal officials provided to the media on Tuesday, people's first and last names, social security numbers, addresses, and employment information are redacted. It appears the state did not respond to another 3 subpoenas from ICE seeking information from the State Labor Board labeled as Immigration Enforcement Subpoena, and another from the DHS Office of the Inspector General, according to Wyman. It's unclear why. The May 22nd subpoena from DHS Inspector General's office seeks wage information for all employees of a business whose name is again redacted. In response to the request on June 12th, an employee at Colorado Labor Department asked Blade Bricker, a special agent with the Inspector General's office, why he needed the information, whether his investigation is related to immigration, and how he will use the data. Bricker said the office conducts fraud, waste, and abuse investigations related to DHS programs, according to an email exchange provided to the media. He said the investigation does not involve immigration, and information will be used to prove or disprove an allegation. The Polis administration's decision to comply with ICE requests has riled fellow Democrats and immigration advocates. State agencies aren't the only one who turned over information to ICE. On Tuesday, Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser announced that he filed a lawsuit against the Mesa County Sheriff's Department, whose decision last month to share information with federal immigration officials led to the arrest of a 19-year-old college student from Utah. Good on Phil Weiser for actually standing up for people. That's nice. Finally. Also kind of the bare minimum. Asked about any investigation into Polis's agency's responses to the subpoenas, Lawrence Pacheco, spokesperson for Weiser, said, "The Attorney General's office cannot confirm or otherwise comment on an investigation." Wow. So, Jared Polis is just complying with ICE and just complying with Republicans. And finally, let's get to this stupid Axios article about our governor. Governor Jared Polis is raising millions for his second inauguration ball, again with help from former President Trump's campaign finance chair. The Democratic governor's affiliation with Larry Mizell, a Denver home builder who raised money for the first inaugural ball, goes beyond bipartisanship and is a bigger headline now that the National Democrats are looking to Polis as a presidential contender. Since 2019, and in the shadow of the January 6th attack, Trump has become more toxic and prominent. Mizell is one of 5 co-chairs of the governor's inaugural committee, which must raise more than $1 million to cover the January 10th event's costs. The others are prominent Democratic donors like Blanca O'Leary, Joe Zimlick, Richard Sapkin, and Polis's outgoing chief of staff, Lisa Kaufman. Mizell declined to comment through a spokesperson. The intrigue. 4 years ago, Polis raised big bucks from major corporations and special interests despite refusing to accept smaller donations during his campaign. He's backtracking again, but it's unclear if the organization hosting the ball, Colorado for All 2023, will disclose its donors this time. A spokesperson did not respond to a message seeking comment. It's no surprise, but Polis emerged as the top donor in the 2022 campaign. He spent $12.6 million from his own pocket to fund his re-election campaign, the Colorado Sun reports. Of note, it's about half of what he spent from his own fortune in 2018. In that campaign, he faced a competitive Democratic primary and tougher general election opponent, though. The most expensive congressional race this year in Colorado was the 3rd district, where Lauren Boebert narrowly defeated the challenger Adam Frisch. Alright, that's everything about Polis in this article. So essentially what's happening is Jared Polis is working with one of the worst people in the Trump administration and one of the biggest funders of the Trump administration and has him on his campaign finance board. Like, it's really bad. It's interesting though because not only is Polis working with Larry Mizell, a Republican, and not only does he have him on the inaugural committee to raise funds, he's also kind of going along with his policy agenda in that he is handing information over to ICE. He is also just creating projects that nobody asked for and then dispersing taxpayer money in a way that nobody wanted. This is key Republican strategy, and keep that in mind as we move forward. So let's review this article this little video script that I'm working on now and see where we're at. So, why we should be noided about Jared Polis and some of his work. Larry Mizell, one of Jared Polis's bigger donors, was a big part of this bridge project that ultimately got scrapped as of last week. The project was originally unveiled at the annual Miser Dinner, which again signifies further support from Larry Mizell. Larry Mizell, as it turns out, is one of Jared Polis's biggest fundraisers through things like the Museum of Tolerance, Jerusalem, and oops, that's 2 sentences. Mizell is one of Jared Polis's biggest fundraiser. Mizell has worked with some of the biggest Republicans in the world, or in the country, like J.D. Vance, Ron DeSantis, Cory Gardner, through his foundation, I guess, or Museum of Tolerance, Jerusalem, whatever you want to call it. And Jared Polis is more than happy to take his money, even though he works directly with Republicans like Ron DeSantis, J.D. Vance, and all of the people that Polis says he is against. So, Jared Polis was happy to take Larry Mizell's money. Not only was he happy to take his money, but when the project fell through, he was more than happy to, again, take his money and disperse it for smaller projects. Corruption? Yeah. Plus, the fact that he's handing over people to ICE while handing taxpayer money over to corporations like that, he is not the communist that people try to portray him as. So yeah, just a little Noided look into Colorado. Let's go ahead and try to find somebody that we can raid for tonight, and we will wrap it up. Hour 32, 3 viewers. Hell yeah, chat. Nice seeing y'all. Oh, Matt only has 72 viewers? Let's do it. Let's raid Matt Binder.
Wait. I think you missed something though. Ace?
Alright, do y'all want to go to Matt Bender, or do you want to try one of these smaller chats? Honestly, this guy looks interesting. Let's try. Can I somehow get his link? Real Red Hall.
Tuvalu's population turning in climate refugee applications? Yeah, probably. That wouldn't surprise me.
Struggling to play down the rifts.
Well, I know these three blokes, and they're pretty good at speaking up for themselves, so on these matters, I'll let them do that. Nobody's getting under my skin, James. Matters for the National Party are...
It's a little, not American, I guess. Let's see if I can find somebody with less viewers, too. 13, 16, 11...
And I'm trying to remember. There's a couple other people. Like, there's so many of them that like just being a friend, being supportive. That's a lot. You know, give them space where they can be normal, that they know they can be normal and. Maya, the cutest mango. Thank you for. Listen. Sorry, Maya, the cutest mango. I'm not a mango fan. But I will make exceptions for people who join the community.
Oh yeah.
If you see Palestine, it's such a fucking weird thing because it's an occupation. Oh, yeah. Who's rating? Breezy Bee. Am I not? I've seen Breezy Bee around. I did not realize that Breezy Bee streams. Thank you for the raid. Raiders, welcome in. If you haven't been here before, I'm AGBC, and I'm a variety streamer from the left coast of the big country of Canada, situated on the skull of coast of people that we currently call the Greater Vancouver. I hope the stream is good. Welcome in. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up to chat here. I gotta scroll back up. All these towns kicking out making position till then made me feel motivated. Yes. What's happening in the UK is insane. Yeah, I know they're trying to. Yeah, like they're literally doing the censorship. Lives in our Congress. In England, they will arrest you for terrorism. Well, this is the thing. It's going to be tough for the unfortunately, they've arrested people for crimes. As long as you're in the mental and emotional place, just benefits you and others. Yeah, exactly. I just want to be happy and live free and live that life. Yep.
We did all right today. Wasn't too bad. Janine came in to rescue Kevin because Kevin was hooked on the bagel had Morgan and his broken off. Oh no. We were so much harder to play than we played. Oh, the Morgan's. Cancel. You think this was. I'm not a fan of this. Get us fine humanity, these fuckers will take your food and walk out. And wouldn't stop chatting, so I'm catching up. I was reading the thing the other day, it's enough people don't know here. It's powerlessness, that's a problem. No, it's a false one. Yeah, no, it's a thing.
Aww.
This is kind of where you have
Hell yeah.
Those people that you know that should just put like, simple little posts up there saying things like, hey, you should
Yay!
Rate your government.
Ooh.